My name is Kyro. I'm a professional skateboarder from the San Francisco Bay Area, and today I'm going to talk to you about passion. So as you can see, my passion is skateboarding. That's pretty obvious, and I'm going to tell you the whole story, okay? Set that down. Before we get into this, I really wanted to define passion. What is that? What is this thing called passion? How do we figure that out? How do we find out what it is? So the Oxford Dictionary defines this as an intense desire or enthusiasm for something, or a strong and barely controllable emotion. Think about that for a minute. A strong and barely controllable emotion. I like to define it as the thing that you would do if you could do anything. What if money and time were not a problem? What would you spend your time doing? What would make you wake up in the morning every day and go, this is incredible? That is the thing that is passion. And that is what has driven me. It has driven me very far. It has driven me to do many crazy and wild things, as you saw in that video. Yeah, you might be a little crazy to do some of those things. So I'm going to give you my entire life story, starting from the very beginning, which is that haircut. There's me right on the right, that incredible haircut right there. So when I was 6 years old, I was in a car driving down the street, and I saw these three skateboarders, and they were going, and they turned into an alley. And I don't know what it was about that. It was the most simple thing, but I have this very distinct memory of deciding right then and there, that is cool, and that is what I'm going to do. It's kind of funny. I wouldn't have, at 6 years old, been like, that is my passion. But in a way, I kind of was. I think there's something very, very powerful about that initial impulse to decide to do something. It's a very interesting thing. And I think a lot of times it happens when you're very young. You know, you decide, I want to be a fireman. I want to be a dinosaur. You know, we could use some more dinosaurs, right? So there's this kind of funny thing that I will tell you about. In my school, growing up in this very small town of Red Lodge, Montana, this quote was on the wall. I think this quote is on the wall in many schools. It's a really famous quote. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So in this small town of Red Lodge, Montana, there was a very exact path that you were supposed to follow, right? You go to school, you are part of the basketball team, and you are a part of band. And here I am, I decided I'm going to be a skateboarder. And I got this skateboard video, and I would literally watch it 4 times a day, every day, and skateboard many hours every day. So you could kind of get the sense. But I always think it's so interesting because this quote is on the wall of the school. So somebody decided, this is a smart thing, let's put this quote up, and the kids should look at this, and maybe they should use that and apply it to their life, right? Something that you would think of. But it's kind of funny when you tell your teacher, who's very geared towards, like, you should play basketball and you should do these team sports, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's an interesting thing when you tell them, I'm going to be a skateboarder. You know, and they look at you like you're nuts, or like, what are you doing? So some very distinct advices that I got. My band teacher, he said, if you keep riding that skateboard, you're going to make nothing of your life, you're going to be a nobody, and you'll end up being a total loser. I was like, okay. Maybe, you start to get these doubts, right? But the funny thing is, like, did those doubts come from you? Did they come from other people? Because I had that very distinct, like, that's what I'm going to do. And then the basketball coach said the same thing. If you keep riding that skateboard, man, you're going to make nothing of your entire life. But you go back to this. 2 roads diverged in a wood. I took the one less traveled by. I kind of think the less traveled road is the road of passion. And I think it's a very interesting thing because I talk to a lot of people, tons of people, and I ask them, what do you do in your life? And they say various things. I'm a baker, or whatever it is, right? And I say, okay, is that what you really, really, really want to do? Is that what you wake up in the morning and you go, today's going to be awesome, it's going to be the best day, and I'm going to do everything that I want? And they go, no. And I say, well, okay, what is it that you would want to do? And they say, well, I've always wanted to be a writer, you know? And my response is, right, you should be a writer. That's what you should do, right? Interesting world. So, okay, so I had these times in my life where I hit these things, and you got to kind of get the context here. Like, I'm starting to go, I love skateboarding, that's what I'll do, but all of life is sort of telling me, don't do that, you're going to be a loser, it's not going to work out, etc. So I continue skateboarding. This is sort of me jumping over the hurdles of people telling me not to, right? I graduated high school with very good grades. I had a full ride scholarship to any school in Montana. And I told my dad, if I don't go to Vancouver, British Columbia to go to school, because they have like really good skateboard spots there, I'm not going to go to school at all, right? And so I threw away the scholarship and I went to Vancouver, British Columbia. Spent a lot of time skateboarding. I still got good grades. You know, I was good at school. I could study and I could do that, and it was really good. But after a year of university, I thought to myself, if I don't go all in on this passion, I don't think I will ever forgive myself for that, you know? I don't think I'll ever let that go. And what would I do if I got a career in film, which was the plan B, right? Plan A is become a skateboarder, and plan B was, if that doesn't work out, you're into film because you like skateboard videos, so you could do film, right? So I was taking film, but you see, it was the secondary goal. And I thought, if I don't go all in on this, I just won't, I don't know, if I grow old, am I going to look back and always regret that? I could not do that. So after 1 year of university, I dropped out, and I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, where I skateboarded harder than I had ever skateboarded in my entire life. Like, to say that I gave everything is a drastic understatement. I literally gave it everything. I had to work to make money. I worked at these jobs that I hated. I worked at KB Toys, and no matter what the person bought, you had to ask them, do you want batteries with that? And they would usually say, no, a bouncy ball doesn't require batteries. And you'd say, well, I'm sorry, I have to ask that, you know. But again, it's kind of a funny thing because you work these jobs to sort of pay for your passion or put that off to the side, right? So I'm in San Francisco. I'm working so hard on my skateboarding. I'm doing really good. I'm skateboarding better than I ever have in my entire life. And I pick up some incredible sponsors. In the world of skateboarding, the way that you make it a career is you get sponsors. And then they pay for you to do things. This is how the industry works, right? So I get some really good ones, and I think, wow, this is it. I have a very clear path. I'm going to be a professional skateboarder. My life goals are really coming together at this point. And then I walk into my sponsor to get my boards. I pick up these free boards, and the guy says, you know, there's been some budget cuts. You're off the team. This was like more than I could deal with, right? Having the teacher tell me that you're going to be a loser is one thing, but losing all of your sponsors overnight was like devastating. I was done. I was like, this is the end of the road. This is the end of my passionate push. But if I didn't have so much passion, I would have given up right then and there. And I'll be honest with you, I nearly gave up. And I did this thing that was kind of funny because I was filming a lot at that time. I had a lot of skateboard footage stocked up. So I took it all and I put it together to this really weird music, and I put it on this website. At the time, it was this very small website. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's called YouTube. And I put that video up. It was 2005. YouTube had just started, and the video ended up getting 350,000 views. And I was nobody. Nobody had heard my name. They didn't know who I was. And at that time, I think it was the most viewed video on the internet, period, for skateboarding. And I was like, wait a sec. I just lost all of my sponsors. I have no career. And now this? Like, what do you really make of that? It's kind of hard to figure that out. And I still have these ideas hitting me, right? You're a skateboarder. That's what losers do. You can't do that. That's not a career. So, but that sort of lit the fire again. I think passion is this thing that everyone has. I think some people had it and they went off and they got stuck onto the making money or the various life things, but it's still there. And it doesn't matter how old you are, who you are, you can always rekindle that passion. You can find it. It is there. I am 100% convinced that everyone has it, okay? So, the journey of YouTube began. I put that video up, got a lot of views, and then a couple years later, YouTube started becoming a thing where you could make videos and it would be kind of a career, right? Not a total career, but kind of a career. But for me, it was an incredible freedom because it allowed me to do anything. I didn't have to rely on sponsors. I didn't have to go into any team managers. I didn't have to ask for their okay. If I wanted to set up a domino course and slide through it on my stomach, I could. If I wanted to fill the mini ramp with balloons, I could. This is a long ways down the road, right? I'd made a lot of videos before I got that. So the point I want you to take from this is that you need to make your passion important. You decide and you figure out what your passion is. You can ask yourself, what would I do if I didn't have to worry about money? What would I put my time into? And organize everything else around that, right? You're going to need to learn many skills. I had to learn how to film. I had to learn how to edit. I had to learn how to run a business. I had to learn how to manage finances. I didn't know how to do any of that. But because I knew I had to make a career with skateboarding, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I had to make that work. I just by necessity had to learn those things. But you see how I learned them because of my passion. Mistakes are going to happen. We made a video where we skated on a Christmas tree. It's kind of a thing that we do. We take these weird objects or random objects. This was for Christmas, right? Makes sense. Christmas video, skate a Christmas tree, right? So, and then at some point in the video, none of this is planned, right? We decide we're going to put this Christmas tree on the bungee and we're going to shoot it. And it ended up going about 90 miles an hour through the roof. Literally, a hole in the roof. But it's those kind of weird accidents that you would go, this is bad. My landlord is not going to be happy with this. But it's those weird accidents that you learn from. And please be willing to make mistakes. Put yourself out there and have a mistake. Because you're going to learn from those mistakes. One of the things that I live by is don't go to sleep at night without having learned at least one new thing that day, right? Another thing that I want to say is that in 2019, it doesn't matter what your passion is. It literally doesn't matter. You can make a career out of it. This is a skateboarder that has no legs, okay? If you feel like, I can't do this, just imagine going, I'm going to be a professional skateboarder, and you have no legs, right? So it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how big the barriers are. You can jump over them. You can go through it. You can handle it. It's going to be okay. And the next point I want to make is once you find your passion and you start creating on this, please give back to the community. In fact, I think giving back to the community is how you're going to actually make a career out of your passion. Doesn't matter what it is, right? Generally speaking, giving back to that community is what is going to create that financial exchange. So we do a lot of programs with kids. Our main thing is teaching. I think I've taught more people to skateboard all over the world than anyone else ever, which I'm very proud of, right? So this sort of passion thing, the idea that I think that is worth spreading is twofold. The first part is find your own passion or rekindle that passion. It is there, I guarantee it, and use that. And when people tell you, you can't do that, you just kindly ignore them, try to understand their point of view, right? My band teacher wanted me in band because I was good at playing the drums. He wasn't just a mean guy. I'm not resentful toward him at all, right? So do your passion no matter what the circumstance is, no matter what the barriers, you just make it work. And the second point that I want to make there is try and help other people with this. You'll find these people, especially people that are just graduating high school and they're going to university and they're like, I'm not totally sure what I want to do with my life. You can ask them, well, what would you do if you could do anything? And you usually get a very straight answer. Well, I would become a professional piano player. And you just simply say, you should do that. And they will look at you and go, do you really think so? And you'll say, yes, you absolutely have to do that. And more often than not, you'll get this. Wow, you're the only person that has told me that. You're the only person that actually believed that I could do it. Well, I not only believe that you could do it, I know that you can do it because I've done it. It's not easy, it's a lot of work, but you can do it. So if we just simply do that and we push this idea forward, that alone will change the world. Thank you very much.